After a bitter argument, my husband left me stranded at a quiet bus terminal on the outskirts of the city. No money, no phone, no ID. I remember the sting of that humiliation like a burn that never fades. I was ready to start walking the long road back home when I heard a raspy voice beside me. An old woman, her eyes hidden behind thick glasses, sat knitting on a worn bench. "Darling," she said calmly, "pretend you're my granddaughter. My driver will be here shortly, and trust me, your husband will regret abandoning you beside the richest woman in this state." I thought she was insane. It sounded like one of those wild stories people make up to comfort themselves. But I swear, every word I'm about to tell you is true. My name is Evelyn Carter ***. I'm *58 years old ***. And until that cursed afternoon, I believed I had already experienced the worst life could offer. 30 years of marriage to Mark ***. 30 years of exhaustion, of saving every coin, of swallowing my pride. Waking before sunrise to prepare his meals, spending my evenings alone while he stayed out, working late. All of it for what? So he could one day look at me with disgust and say I had become **a burden. That morning, we had traveled to the countryside for one of his business meetings. He talked the entire bus ride about profit margins and clients, while I stared out the window, pretending not to notice the text messages lighting up his phone. The ones he always smiled at but never let me see. When we arrived, I wanted a few minutes to rest on a bench near the old station. My knees ached, my head spun, but Mark's patience had long since run dry. "Evelyn," he snapped, "you're always tired, always dragging me down. I can't live like this anymore." People turned to stare. My throat burned with shame. "Please, not here," I whispered. "Oh, here is perfect," he said with a cruel smile. "Look around you. This pathetic station fits you, old, worn out, going nowhere." Then he did the unthinkable. He grabbed my purse, took my ID and wallet, and said, "You won't be needing these where you're going." Before I could protest, he climbed into the cab that had been waiting for us and disappeared down the dusty road, leaving me there, broke, humiliated, and trembling. I sat down slowly, the sound of the departing car echoing like a verdict. The air smelled of metal and dust. My eyes blurred with tears I didn't want to shed. I had no one to call, nowhere to go. 58 years old, and I had never felt smaller. Then came the voice again, that same calm, steady voice. "Excuse me, dear." I turned. The old woman was facing me, her hand still holding the same half-finished scarf. I couldn't help overhearing. "Forgive me, but no one deserves what I just witnessed." I tried to force a smile. "I'll manage, thank you." She shook her head gently. "No, you won't, but maybe I can help you." I frowned, uncertain. "Help me how?" "Pretend to be my granddaughter," she said softly. "My driver will arrive any moment, and I promise you, by tomorrow, your husband will wish he never let you go." I wanted to laugh, but something in her tone, that quiet authority, that unshakable certainty, made me pause. "Why would you do that for me?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "Because I know what it feels like to be discarded, to be left behind when you've given everything. And because once a stranger showed me kindness when I had nothing left, it's time I returned the favor." Her words struck something deep inside me, something raw and aching. "My name is Margaret Dalton **", she continued. "Perhaps you've heard of me." My breath caught. Of course, I'd heard the name. Margaret Dalton, owner of Dalton Industries **", the chain of hotels, vineyards, and textile factories that practically defined the state's economy. A woman whose fortune was whispered about like myth. You're that Margaret Dalton." She nodded slightly. "And you, my dear, are my granddaughter, at least for the next few hours." Before I could respond, a sleek black Mercedes pulled into the station. The driver stepped out, immaculate in his uniform. "Ms. Dalton," he said respectfully, "your car is ready." "Perfect timing, Andrew," Margaret said. She turned to me and whispered, "Stand tall, Evelyn. Act like you belong to this world. Because starting today you do. I hesitated, but something inside me, pride, revenge, or maybe just exhaustion, pushed me forward. I took her arm and helped her to her feet. Andrew, Margaret said, I'd like you to meet my granddaughter, Evelyn. The driver blinked but quickly recovered his composure. A pleasure, miss. I nodded weakly, likewise. As we approached the car, I heard hurried footsteps and my name shouted from behind. Evelyn, wait. I turned and there was Mark, running toward us, his face pale, his voice desperate. Margaret didn't even flinch. Andrew, she said smoothly, please close the door. My granddaughter and I have a family luncheon to attend. Mark froze, confused. Family? Evelyn, who is this woman? What's going on? I looked straight at him, for once without fear. You made it clear what you think of me, Mark, so let's not pretend now. Evelyn, I didn't mean. Save it, I said quietly. Because you're right about one thing, I was going nowhere, but that ends today. The door shut, sealing the moment. As the car rolled away, I watched him grow smaller in the mirror. The man who had once been my whole world, now just a memory shrinking into dust. Margaret rested a gentle hand on mine. You did well, she said. Now let's get you home. Home? She smiled, you'll see. The drive took nearly an hour through winding countryside roads, until we reached an enormous estate surrounded by vineyards and stone fountains. The house itself looked like a piece of history, tall columns, white walls, balconies draped in ivy. Welcome to Dalton Manor, Margaret said simply. Your new beginning. My heart raced as Andrew opened the door. I helped her out, my mind spinning. The scent of roses filled the air, and I felt, for the first time in years, like I could finally breathe. We entered the grand foyer, marble floors, golden light, portraits lining the walls. Staff hurried to greet her, but Margaret lifted a hand. This is Evelyn, she announced. My granddaughter, treat her as family. Every eye turned to me, some surprised, some doubtful, but none dared question her. That night, over dinner served on silver plates, Margaret looked across the table and said, Evelyn, I don't believe in coincidences. People meet for reasons we can't always see. You've suffered enough. From now on, I'll make sure you never have to beg for love again. I tried to speak, but my voice broke. She smiled softly. Eat, my dear. Tomorrow we'll discuss the future. I have plans for you, and perhaps together, we can remind this world that kindness and strength still exist. And that was how it began. The day I lost everything, and somehow found the person who would change my life forever. We're also going to set up accounts in your name and introduce you to the operations, Alexander said with a calm authority. Breakfast was generous, steaming coffee, fresh fruit, buttery croissants, and golden omelets. As we ate, Alexander spoke about his vast network of businesses. He owned a shipping line that traded across 3 continents, 2 resort chains, several technology startups, and a portfolio of energy stocks. His wealth exceeded $500 million. $500 million. The figure felt unreal, almost abstract. I had spent years scraping by on a salary that barely covered rent, and now I was sharing a table with a man who made my lifetime savings in a single morning. I know this is a lot to take in, Alexander said, his tone soft but firm. But you'll learn, one step at a time. Ethan will guide you through everything. He's been with me for over 2 decades, the most loyal man I've ever known. After breakfast, Ethan drove us into the city in a sleek black SUV. We arrived at a glass-covered building, modern and silent, and took the elevator to the 15th floor. Waiting for us was a lawyer, not Ethan, not Alexander's son, but a man named Gregory Miles. He wore a flawless navy suit and had the calm smile of someone used to dealing with power. Mr. Vaughn, always a pleasure, Gregory said, shaking hands. And this must be Leo. That's right, Alexander replied. He's my son now, Gregory. I want every legal document prepared, adoption, inheritance rights, the name change, everything. Gregory nodded and gestured for us to sit. He explained every step: legal adoption procedures, estate registration, power of attorney, financial authorizations. My mind spun with all the new terms and responsibilities. "Mr. Leo," Gregory said after a pause, "I must ask, are you married?" "Yes," I said quietly, "but I'm getting divorced." "Then we'll need the final decree before finalizing any inheritance clauses," he replied smoothly. "A spouse maintains legal claim until the divorce is complete." Alexander's jaw tightened. "How long will it take?" 3 to 6 months if uncontested," Gregory replied. "Longer if your wife resists." I sighed. "She'll resist, trust me." Alexander's cane struck the floor with a sharp thud. "Then we'll handle it. Hire the best. I don't want her getting a single cent." "Understood," Gregory said. "I'll call Mayer and Holt, they're specialists in these cases." 2 hours later, I walked out clutching a folder of documents that felt heavier than bricks. My life had changed in ways I couldn't process. Just a week ago, I was an exhausted dock worker with an empty wallet. Now I was the heir of a billionaire. As we drove back, Alexander turned to me. "Leo, listen carefully. From now on, people will see you differently. They'll call you their friend. They'll promise loyalty, but most will only want your wealth." "I understand," I said. "No," he said, "you think you do, but soon you'll see. Your ex-wife won't be the only one returning. Old friends, family, everyone who once ignored you, they'll all come crawling back." His words made me think of my brother, and there it was, the truth glistening behind her tears. She didn't want me. She wanted the fortune. "Get out of this house, Claire." "What, Leo, please?" I said, "Get out, and don't come back. My lawyer will contact you about the divorce. Sign whatever you need to sign, and this will all end peacefully. Resist me, and I promise you'll regret it." Her face twisted with rage and disbelief. "This is how you repay me, Leo. After 35 years together, you throw me away like garbage." "No, Claire," I said coldly. "You threw me away first. I'm just finally accepting it." She stood up, shaking. "This isn't over. I'm your wife. I have rights, and I'll fight for them." "Fight all you want," I said. "You won't win." She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the chandeliers rattled. I stood there in that vast, golden room surrounded by wealth, but feeling an emptiness I couldn't describe. The days that followed were a blur of lessons and revelations. Every morning, Alexander guided me through his business empire, teaching me about contracts, equity, and international markets. My mind, long dulled by routine labor, woke up like a machine finally being used for its purpose. But the nights were haunted. My phone vibrated endlessly. Claire, Adam, unfamiliar numbers. Everyone wanted something from me. Everyone suddenly remembered that Leo, the failure, now had value. A week later, the storm hit. Gregory called me into his office. His expression was grim. "She's suing," he said. "For alimony, division of assets, emotional distress, the works. She's demanding $50,000 a month and half of your future inheritance. Alexander laughed, a cold, sharp laugh that cut through the tension. "Half of what?" "She left him penniless." Gregory nodded. "Exactly. She doesn't have a case, but she's betting on intimidation. She assumes we'll settle to avoid a media circus." "Then she's wrong," Alexander said, slamming his cane against the floor. "File for divorce under abandonment. We'll crush this." Gregory smiled faintly. "Understood, Mr. Vaughn." As we left, I felt hollow. 35 years of a life, love, betrayal, routine, turning into a war of papers and lies. "You're thinking this is cruel," Alexander said in the SUV. "You're wondering if you should just give her something to make it stop." I looked at him, startled. "How did you?" "Because I've been you," he said quietly. "Good men hesitate when they must be ruthless. But kindness isn't weakness. She left you to rot. She made her choice. Now she lives with it." That night Adam appeared at the mansion, uninvited, unannounced. Stephen checked with me before letting him in. He entered like he owned the place, eyes sweeping across the marble, the chandeliers, the art. "Leo, brother," he said with false warmth. "This place is incredible. To what do I owe the visit?" I asked flatly. "Do I need a reason to see my brother?" He smiled, taking a seat without invitation. I just wanted to reconnect. It's been too long. I said nothing. Look, he continued, things have been tough lately. Business setbacks, bad investments. Maybe we could help each other out. You know, family supporting family. There it was, the ask. You want money, Adam? He blinked. I did asterisk say asterisk that. You didn't have to. His expression hardened. Wow, you've changed. This money made you arrogant. No, I said, it's just made me aware. When I needed help, you weren't there. Now that I have something, you remember I exist. You'll regret this, he snapped, standing. Claire told me how you threw her out like an animal. She was right, you're not the man you used to be. Good, I said coldly. That man was a fool who thought loyalty meant something. He left without another word. Moments later, Alexander appeared at the door, guided by the sound of our argument. I heard, he said softly. I'm sorry you had to. Don't be, he said, settling beside me. This is the truth of wealth. It burns away the masks people wear. What's left isn't pretty. It still hurts, I said. He's my brother. I know, but sometimes the people you've known all your life are strangers who just share your blood. He put a hand on mine. You're my family now, Leo, and I'll protect you like my own son from them, from anyone. I couldn't speak. I only nodded. But Alexander was right, the betrayal had only begun. 2 weeks later, Gregory called. His tone was tight. Leo, you need to come immediately. When we arrived, he handed me a thick folder. Claire's not just fighting the divorce. She's accusing you of fraud and abandonment. She claims you took all marital funds and left her destitute. I froze. That's a lie. I know, but she has witnesses. He hesitated. Your brother Adam filed an affidavit supporting her. They're claiming you manipulated Mr. Vaughn, that you targeted him, exploited his loneliness and blindness for money. Alexander slammed his cane into the floor so hard the sound cracked like thunder. Absurd. I may be blind, but I'm not stupid. I believe you, sir, Gregory said. But they're building a narrative and the media's eating it up. The media? I asked. Gregory nodded grimly. It's already in the papers. Adopted heir or gold digger. The Vaughn family scandal. They've turned you into a story. The next morning my face was on every screen. Reporters called me a manipulator, a liar, a con artist. Then came the final blow, a radio interview with Adam. My brother Leo's always been ambitious, he said smoothly, but never successful. When he met Mr. Vaughn, he saw a chance to escape failure. It's sad how easily an old, lonely man can be deceived. I listened in silence, gripping the armrest until my knuckles turned white. That voice, the same one that once cheered at my graduation, now destroying me publicly. I turned off the radio and stared out the window. The world outside looked the same, but everything inside me had changed. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. And there it was, the truth behind her trembling smile. She never wanted me. She only wanted the fortune attached to my name. Get out of my house, Evelyn. What? No, Nathan, please listen. I said get out. My lawyer will reach out about the divorce. Sign quietly and this ends cleanly. Fight it and I promise you'll regret it. Evelyn stared at me in disbelief, her voice rising with fury. After 30 years, this is what I get. You throw me away like I'm nothing. No, I said coldly. You threw us away the moment you traded love for greed. She stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the walls, leaving me in a silence heavier than grief. The next days were strangely calm, mornings spent with Victor, my mentor, learning about his businesses, his empire, and how he'd built it from the ground up. He treated me like a son, and under his guidance, I discovered a mind for strategy I never knew I had. But when night came, my peace shattered. My phone wouldn't stop ringing, Evelyn, my brother David, even unknown numbers. Everyone wanted something. They had all learned that the man who once worked in a warehouse now sat beside one of the richest men in the city. A week later, the calm ended. A legal notice arrived. Evelyn was suing me for alimony, asset division, and emotional damages. She demanded 50,000 a month, half my properties, and even a share of any inheritance from Victor. Victor's lawyer, Charles, laughed when he read the file. She has no case. She left you, there are witnesses. Any inheritance from Mr. Haldon comes after the separation. She has no claim. Then why is she trying? I asked. Because she's desperate, Charles said, and her lawyers are betting you'll settle to avoid a scandal. Victor tapped his cane against the floor. We're not giving her a cent. Charles hit back hard. File for divorce under abandonment. Present every statement, every witness. I want her to walk away with nothing. We left with a plan, but my heart felt heavy. 30 years of marriage ending in court battles, it wasn't supposed to end like this. Victor noticed my silence in the car. You're thinking of showing mercy, he said, because you're kind. But remember this, Nathan,